I think there's a lot of people in the dynamic space and Power Platform, Dynamic CRM all around that are not necessarily technically trained. People like myself who really came into this platform as someone who is interested in doing more. You've got a list of business requirements you need to meet, and you're really just trying to figure out how that works. And it's not always easy to really sort that out on your own. And that's where something like the Dynamics community forums can really come in handy because it gives you the opportunity to interact with people who have been doing this for a lot longer than you have, a lot longer than I have, and really get your ideas out there, ask those questions, post where you're having some different issues. And it's just incredibly helpful to be able to get those different perspectives, get the real world experience from other people, and really just help you on that journey to continue to learn. So the question that I wanted to run through here today was one that I had the opportunity to work with. That was a user who had come in, a community member who was having some issues with a custom process that they had deployed to their dynamic CRM environment. It really revolved around Power Automate. And from the way that they described it, they have a custom process when they need to renew one of their opportunities. But there was an error or an issue occurring when the account record that the opportunity belonged to was owned by a team rather than a user within their environment. So over here in Power Automate, I have a pretty basic cloud flow. What it does, I trigger it manually. It's going to grab an account record. In this case, I hard coded one for the sake of this demonstration. And then we are creating an opportunity record based off of that. So in this particular case, I have this set up to use the system user table for the owner. And if we take a look in CRM itself at this particular account record, what we will see is that it is actually owned by a team. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to test this and we're going to see what happens. And if I set up my sample here correctly, what we should see is an error that comes through. And we're going to take a look and diagnose what's actually happening here with that particular error. We triggered the flow, that worked successfully. We got our account record, that also worked successfully. But our create opportunity step is where we ran into this problem. Now, for this particular flow in our test one, it's very easy to see that this is where the error was. We only have 3 steps or 2 steps after the trigger. Pretty easy to see where this particularly happened. With the user, this was a step that was kind of buried amongst a number of other different options within the flow and different things that were occurring. So we really had to dive down and dig into exactly which part of the flow was failing. When we take a look, Power Automate is pretty good about giving us exactly what that error is when we take a look at it. In this case, we can see that that error says entity system user with ID equals, we've got a GUID there, does not exist. So in and of itself, when you take a look at this, you can say, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm grabbing the owner from the account field. That's exactly what I'm setting as the owner on the opportunity. Why can't it find that? So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at this create opportunity step so we can understand exactly what's being put in and where that issue occurs. So on create opportunity, I'm going to click on show raw inputs, and this gives me the set of fields that I defined on this step before I ran it. What table am I creating it on? The name of the opportunity, the currency, etc. Now, most important here is taking a look at the owner field that I set. Now, this GUID, this ID that we see here is correct. That's the team that this account is assigned to. But the issue occurs right here, which is that I set and defined that this is a system user, and it's not a system user. It's a team. So what's happening is I'm telling the system that you should be looking for a user with this ID instead of telling it you should be looking for a team with this ID. So that's going to cause this error to happen, and it's going to prevent the entire opportunity record from being created. And in this situation, because I hard coded in this system users reference, telling it this is the table we're going to, that's where we're going to see that only issues occur when we are trying to assign it to a team as opposed to a user, right? If it's a user, it'll work fine. If it's a team, that's where we're going to get an error. So once we were able to essentially diagnose that that's what was happening, we were able to go back to edit our opportunity in this particular case. And what we need to do when we set the owner is not hard code it to system users. We need to set this dynamically based off of what came out of the earlier step. And so in this case, you can do that a number of different ways, a lot of different options for us to be able to go through that. You can do a simple if statement in this situation to say, if the outputs from this get account, if that owner table type is a team, then we want to insert team here. If that particular field is a user, we do system user. You could do a conditional branch for a logic to go through. But just diagnosing and understanding that because that is a polymorphic lookup, it does require the right table reference is a very easy thing to mix, but it can definitely be a frustrating thing that we were able to understand. So I would always encourage anyone to jump in with any level of experience in the dynamics community. I think that having the opportunity to, again, take a look at the questions that are coming from other users, see what other people are working on, what they're being challenged with. One of the things that I've always been amazed by every time that I go in there is that I might know the answer to maybe a third of the questions. The rest of them that come up are items that I've never experienced before. And I get to learn along with the other experts of that community and better understand the product and the system and hopefully continue to help people in the future and even help me in my current position.